Welcome back into Academy Broadcast. We are getting ready for our third game of the day. TSM Academy taking on CLG Academy. And Sam, this one's a doozy. Both teams, unfortunately, are sitting towards the bottom of the standings, 1-4 apiece. They would love to be able to start now, to be able to climb in, because they got to start now. If they don't, I don't know if they're going to be able to make it into playoffs.
The good news is it's not impossible for either team to win this game because both have strengths and yes, both have weaknesses that have been exploited. But again, I feel like, especially on the side of TSM, they do have a strong top laner that they can rely on. They have Cody's son that they can always go to. And on the side of CLG, you have so many different players and so many ways to play around. But looking back at TSM yesterday, you could see how well that they were able to just push around. They were still able to get some advantages, and especially Hanser on this gangplank, I think did a pretty good job.
And Sword Double D is also a new player that's been really showing that he can play very well, and he's a very strong player. You can see, like, good shockwaves, good starts off to the fights. You just need to work on some of the positioning, some of those aspects. But when he does it well, this newer player, this younger kid of player, is able to provide so much for the team.
And honestly, I'm looking forward to see how Babip can improve, because he hasn't had the greatest of early games thus far, and especially early on in this Academy series, he hasn't had the best showing. But I still feel like this player shows a lot of potential. He still has great timings. He still has the ability to get into the counter jungle. He's still playing aggressive. He just needs to rein it in a little bit more, and I feel like they can really make this team work.
And that's the thing. They have so many paths to make this team work. They have veteran status in both Hanser and Cody's son. Sure, they got some of the newer players, as I mentioned, with Sword Double D and also with Fizzy. But Babip is coming over from Oceania, and he's a player who's got a lot of experience as well. I want to see this team finally find that cohesion, be able to work together, to be able to come into this game especially and show everyone that they are going to be a force to reckon with in further Academy games.
And you know, another team that's shown a lot of potential is the other side of the rift, which we're looking at CLG, who were able to take a game off Cloud9 Academy this season. So it's definitely hard to say that this team has no possibilities. This is definitely the ability to, they can shine. They just need to get their early game leads and push it.
But the problem for CLG Academy has been, I talked about cohesion with TSM Academy. Well, it's even worse over for CLG. They've had a lot of swaps, a lot of roster swaps with their organization where players have been subbed in, put back out, Pole Belter going up to the lock-in, going back into Academy, Katsuri finally coming over, same with Tian, to be able to play for them. But it's made it difficult for them to really find that synergy, to work together as a team. And so, sure, they've gotten yesterday. That was their first game that they had this current roster they're playing with today actually get to play with one another. If they can find that what works with them, they could take down a team that's also struggling to find that synergy.
Well, a battle between these two teams will certainly be one of mostly experimentation and mostly just seeing who can outplay the other and who can make the easier, I should say, team composition to pull off. Because when you're still working on your synergy, when you're especially working with an 8-man roster like CLG Academy is, you want to make sure you understand your win conditions and you draft appropriately so that you can play something you know how to play.
And you're also hoping for CLG Academy. They got Poe Belter coming in mid lane. This is another veteran player, very strong player who's been able to destroy and honestly pop off all the time in LCS, where sometimes it's surprising to see him in Academy just because of how strong of a player he is. You're hoping that this kind of status of a player can be something to rally around the flag mentality, to be able to prop him up as that spearhead of someone that is going to lead the charge and take you to victory.
And I like that we have these veteran players coming in and giving these newer players some veteran leadership, as you talked about before. Magical, yes, Cody's son and Hanser on the other side, Poe Belter on CLG. But when you have the two kind of combining, it's not about the veterans. It's about how these new players are going to be able to develop and how they're going to be able to show something that we haven't seen before. Because CLG Academy and TSM Academy, with their struggles, still have so much more that they can show off. There's a reason these players were drafted, and I'm excited to see what the game we're going to get today.
As am I. I'm really excited to see how they're going to be able to play against one another, because I personally like seeing newer players succeed. I like seeing Academy teams succeed. I don't like seeing players feel like they're not doing as well as they'd hope or feel demoralized. I want to see it. And yes, it's a weird thing to say in competitive, that you want everyone to succeed. I want everyone to win, but because eventually someone's got to lose. That's just the nature of the beast. But that's how I am. I want to see everyone be able to do well. I want to see everyone be able to play at the peak and the top that I know that they're all capable of. And so when it comes to both of these teams, that's why I want to see what they're both capable of. I want to see both of them show up on the Rift and show that they are both high caliber teams that are able to work together, work with one another, and overcome the weaknesses and the slump that they had at the start of this split.
And sometimes that can be accomplished by just picking things that feel comfortable. Katsuri, for example, has not played as Ezreal yet, who I know is his most played champion, played a lot, formerly an amateur, and I'm really excited to see if he can pull that off, even though it's not his meta. Hooks probably has a couple of different champs. Pobelter, we know, has a champion Ocean, so it can pull out literally anything. But on the other side, Hansers, Cody Sun, they just need to play the way they know how to play, whether that's on Kai'Sa, which we saw Cody Sun do yesterday. He didn't win, but I still think it was a solid performance. And Hanser playing those fighters. I feel like he's had a bit of struggles this season, but he could still pull out that Gangplank. He can still play that Renekton. And I feel like that comfort is what's going to be what wins the day.
And I kind of want to talk about what's going on with Counter Logic Gaming really quick, because Peel, their jungler, has been someone who, despite the fact that the team might not be at its strongest, has been someone that everyone's kind of got their eyes on. And this guy who kind of has been able to work well with the team, regardless of people getting swapped in and out and benched left and right, he has still been a kind of like shining light for the team on what they want to be able to rally around. And he is a newer player coming into all of this.
And I feel like he has a lot of different options that he can do for this game specifically. When he plays with Tien, I feel like that's when this team is at their strongest. They're playing around the top side. They're making sure that their top laner is getting ahead, and then they can do a 4-1 or whatever strategy they choose to draft. And when you play around anything other than that top side, that's when CLG starts to falter. So hopefully they've had that in mind. I know that it's been talked about among the team quite a bit. So maybe this is where they turn it around. Maybe this is when they realize their strength and they utilize it to its fullest.
Well, we'll find out because we're getting into Champion Select, Sam. It's going to be the game between TSM Academy and CLG Academy. Should be exciting to see how these two teams are going to be able to draft against one another, because if you look at it, what they technically get banned against one another the most is Seraphine at the top for both teams that are banned by the opposition, that teams take away from them. So I'm wondering if they're going to play around that, if they're going to either let it through, or who's going to be the one to fold first.
TSM is the answer there.
They answered
so
that quick.
Seraphine gone. They
answered that really quick for me.
There are 6 possibilities where Seraphine could go, and it turns out number 3 was the right answer. Kai'Sa also going to be taken away, a great choice because of how prevalent this marksman has become. Just so much you can do with that, and Cody Sun on Kai'Sa is a very scary prospect.
And no Udyr, he's getting banned as well. Talia, Pantheon, these are picks that I'm seeing that are open. CLG can only ban one of them right here, and you got to imagine whatever one's not banned is going to be immediately locked in. They don't ban either. They ban the Olaf, which makes me wonder, is it going to be Pantheon? Is it going to be Talia?
And TSM just saying, hey, it's been banned every game. We're going to take it. Pantheon going to be the hover for now. Curious if they lock it in. I imagine they will.
There it is.
Just because of how dominant this is, how it can be a flex pick, and how you can really build a composition around it if you send it to a solo lane or if you send it to the jungle.
And Talia being hovered by Tiana on the other side. Ooh, though, they swap over to Rel. I'm still imagining, the Talia was going to be picked regardless. It's like you don't give over Talia and Pantheon. So that makes sense to see. But seeing this Rel, I always kind of was talking about it a bit before, that Rel is, now that more people are getting practice on it, something that's so practical. It fits in so many team comps, and not just that, how it scales into those team fights later on and fits so well with just Talia in general, as we haven't even seen the rest of what CLG have been able to draft themselves that can punish things that are immobile, such as Aphelios.
And the final lock-ins, well, if you got Aphelios who can be punished, Samira might just be the one to do it. Going to be locked in for CLG Academy. And with the Rel, I feel like that's a pretty good lane that you've set up. You have the engage, you have the disengage, you also have Samira damage, which, as we all have seen in every league around the world, it's a strong pick.
That it is. But now that we're in the second part of the ban, we have to wonder what is going to be taken away. That Pantheon can be flexed. Hanser, Bebib, and Sword Double D can all play it. You're not exactly sure where it's going to go yet. You're expecting it to be for Bebib. I do believe he's been the only one who has played it so far, because something that has just been banned a lot. It's something that you're not going to see too often. It's really, really just powerful. Like, yes, he has been the one who's played it for the team. So that's what I'm expecting to see. But we'll still have to keep our eyes on that, dependent on what CLG grab for themselves first, and have to pretty much blind pick.
But what I'm going to imagine is that they save Tien's pick for the very last. Yes, they're going to have to pick into mid blind, but that's fine. Pobelter is a comfortable player. He knows what he wants to do, and he knows that he has the experience. So he's going to cover the TF for now. This would be a very strong pick that's still available, and this would eliminate the possibility of getting it to the other side, which if TSM gets it, then they have a Pantheon TF to worry about, and that would have been quite the prospect.
Imagining that TF gets blocked in. That or Azir. We kind of heard that earlier as well from Ryoma about how Azir has been starting to creep his way back up into the meta, has not too many difficult matchups, and the scaling potential that he can provide for the team is something that would be able to help them, but they still have to be able to match that global potential out of Pobelter. Someone who's going to try to rotate around with Keel, try to work in these side lanes, and since we don't know what Tien has drafted for themselves, we're not going to be sure until, that final pick. You have to almost play with that idea that maybe they can get double globals, maybe even grab something like a Shen just to be able to send that somewhere else, since Gangplank is not going to be an option.
However, Galio is, and that, although not a pure global, is available. Looks like the Ori hover for now. It's a reasonable pick. Definitely
it's a reasonable
Orianna,
pick, and I do believe that
pretty good.
Is played a good amount by Sword. Yeah, that is one of his most played, that in Zoe so far. So it is going to be Gnar going up there for Haunter. Going to be able to have the Jace, the counter pick into that Gnar into the lane phase. Not going to be that global that I thought. Instead, it's going to be about putting pressure and trying to see if Tian's going to be able to then go for some of these skirmishes to help out Keel against Babit.
And I like this pressure coming out of CLG Academy. They know they want to play aggressive. They know that they have the Jace, the Samira, the Twisted Fate, and the Talia. Just so many things that want to go into the enemy side, get the early advantages, and then push off of that. Because if this team scales up, they won't necessarily have the advantages against a Phelios and an Orianna.
No, they won't. And that's going to be something that is going to be really interesting to see. There's a lot of wombo combo potential, and you asked for easy to execute compositions for both teams. And I feel like TSM Academy gave you exactly what you wanted to say.
Yep. I would say so, because you have the Gnar delivery system, you also have the Pantheon delivery system, a little harder to do, but an option available. And you have a pretty strong bot lane that can focus on both getting early fights and disengaging from fights when you have a Phelios and Thresh. So really, TSM Academy has drafted a comfortable pick that I think could work very, very well if they perform individually.
Gotta perform individually. We know both teams are capable of doing that. They have these great players that are able to rise to the caliber of Academy and want to be able to crack into the LCS, even if they have done so before. They want to be able to return there and be able to show everyone how strong they are, but they got to do so on the Rift against one another. Only one of them is going to be able to come out on top and be able to start soaring up in the standings. Both of them sitting at 1 and 4. As we've loaded up, we'll see who it's going to be.
And so far, it looks like nothing too cheesy, no level 1s thus far, but two junglers will face-to-face on the top side of the river, but not really have anything come because of it. Otherwise, it's just going to be probably a top side for both junglers. I imagine they want to focus bot early, because if either Samira or Aphelios takes off, they are going to be the #1 thing in the game.
Right now, just going to be a typical line of scrimmage coming in.
You are present, and even if you don't put a ward, you can see them, in the avatar sense of things.
The Last Airbender, or like that
No,
one weird movie?
The one with Jake Sully and the other characters.
Who?
I don't know, because
I know the Last Airbender.
Forgettable stuff.
That's the one. We're talking about the animated series, not the movie that was created by M. Night Shyamalan.
Was there a movie?
Yes, there was, unfortunately.
Oh, weird. Never heard about it.
You don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah, take my word on it. As right now, I have to take my word that TSM Academy are going to be the ones with the advantage in this lane to start it off. I think a good position coming in from Fizzy, trying to stand in front of the minion waves to threaten both Hooks and Ketsuri. Trying to get that level 2 spike so that they could just force out either cleanse or maybe even a flash, keep them at bay, and not really have to worry about Samira and Rel trying to kill Kodi-san in the lane.
And hopefully they'll be able to keep up this pressure, because when you have Samira, you do have a lot of early threat. And if Fizzy doesn't manage to get the proper fillets, he's going to find his AD carry in a lot of trouble. Kodi-san doesn't have the typical escape routes, and speaking of escape routes, Haunter getting booped a little bit.
Yep, that's the typical Jace and Nanar matchup, level 1. Well, level 2 technically for Tian, where he's just saying, all right, cool, you take a lot of damage here, and go away.
And you can see Hansler just trying to play back. He almost has the Mega, which you would expect around the level 3 turning point. As
Wait, was that not Dinosaur Nor?
No, I don't think it was.
Oh, Hansler, come on.
Yep. Well, sometimes you mess up every now and again. We saw a base Udyr. Who plays that?
I'm okay with base Udyr. You know, Pizza Feet sometimes is fun.
Fun, but it's not the same as definitely not Udyr. The clear winner of all skins.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. That is true. Definitely not Udyr is one of the better skins there is. The definitely not line is probably one of the best ones. Let's all be
definitely.
honest.
No doubt. You know, come out with as many skins as you want. As long as you're always making a couple of definitely nots every year, I'm satisfied.
I think I've bought one every year, so
yep.
I'm right there with you. As it is going to be the push coming in from Cody Sun and Fizzy. Hooks and Ketsuri. Difficult laning phase, probably going to lose a plate or two before getting some relief, as Keel on the top half of the map, really not wanting to do anything too crazy yet. I'm surprised to see that Keel is on that top half of the map, since we know that Tiana is going to try to play aggressively into Hansler, always look for this pressure, and even getting an early recall off, purely be able to get that Tear of the Goddess to stack that up faster.
Well, see, this is what we were talking about, Magical, in the pregame, is Keel needs to hover around this top side. Yes, it was an unfortunate timing that Tien had to back there, but I do like the pressure going to that side, just because you want to keep Hansler down, and a Jace especially needs to get ahead early. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster going into the mid-game.
So there's a little bit of a CS discrepancy in some of these lanes. It seems that CLGA Academy are the ones with most of that, unfortunately, for the time being. Samira and Aphelios expected for the time being, just with how Cody Sun and Fizzy were able to get there first. Gonna always be able to pressure them back towards their lane. Of course, Keel nearby. We could look for that play and try to see what they can get. Not actually gonna see it. I do think that there was only the flash blown by Fizzy, and he's gonna be able to stay underneath the turret.
Hooks also blew flash. I'm not sure if that was
I think he
for
stayed under the
engage or
turret a little
disengage.
too long. Yeah.
Yep. Happens to the best of us, but Hooks manages to hobble away for the moment on that Iron Horse, and will be coming back pretty soon.
I do like that concept of an Iron Horse, but right now, TP play in from Pobelter, not even using the alt gold card pulled out. No! Stop. Flash tried to escape. It's a flash from Tion. That's going to easily be first blood for CLG Academy.
What amazing positioning coming out of Pobelter, stepping back just enough so Gnar could not get the hop reset. Very well done on the side of CLG, and a very good early gank coming out of this Twisted Fate.
What do you expect to see from a player like Pobelter and the plays that he can make? It was, like you said, very well done. I know if I was in that situation, I would have been like, huh? What's going on?
I would have messed that up.
Well, exactly.
100%.
But that's the thing. That's the skill shown, the skill expression out of Pobelter simply from one step away to make sure that there's no hop, as well as getting the gold card so that the moment he lands, there is no escape.
And Tien, he just knew that he had the time. The teleport came in, the call was made, and Pobelter just hops back. How do you do that? How do you do that unless you have a decade of experience playing this game?
So well done. Beautiful play. And with that, they get first blood, giving it over to Tiana as well. So this Jace Gnar matchup for Hansler going to be even more brutal and that much more difficult to be able to survive, where you expect this Jace now to always be able to play up, despite the fact it's still down in CS. It doesn't matter. All he wants now is to fight, to skirmish, to find poke and find harass.
And what I like is the response from TSM. They knew that the top side was going to be weak just because they had lost Hansler and because of the teleport, so they go for the Dragon instead. And they do manage to pick up the Infernal for themselves. The Mountain going to be the next one spawning in. And if they can get the Dragon lead, then the kills won't matter as much, or they won't at least hurt as much if they give a few early, as long as they get to that soul point.
Until then, a couple of rotations attempted by the supports of each squad, both of them hanging around that mid lane. But with Babip nearby too, it could have been that play attempted by Fizzy instead. With the spot out on the ward onto Babip, they back off. Since Katsuri and Cody-san kind of fighting it a little bit in the bot lane, there's a bigger minion wave for Cody-san. He's going to be able to freeze that. Make it that much more difficult for the Samira lane that's already been struggling into the Thresh and Aphelios, trying to stay away and not really get caught out.
And you have to imagine with Hook's no flash means he has to wait for his engages. He has to use that Hex flash if he wants to do anything. And unfortunately, means that he can't go too aggressive again. TSM, they could capitalize on this. And I want to see Babip towards the bot side as this game continues.
That is something that has been interesting. Babip still hasn't been able to make those plays. And many could argue that as Pantheon, you want to be able to get that Grand Starfall, to be able to have that semi-global and show up anywhere around the map. But Pantheon is also one of those champions that can, by himself, have a great gank regardless. All he has to do is be able to point, click, stun. You follow that up, easy death afterwards. So where is Babip going to be able to make this first play is really the question that we, as casters and as viewers, have to ask ourselves. When do we finally see this Pantheon be able to impact the map?
And I would hope it's when he hits 6, but Keel's coming in.
Gonna be able to get the stun, gonna be able to cleanse too. So Sword will stay alive for now, but having to use that cleanse means all it is a rinse and repeat from Keel and Pobelter to be able to kill him.
And look at this rotation towards the top side of the map. They're going to be able to start the Herald on the side of CLG, and Keel's probably going to pick this up. I can't imagine TSM has a response to this.
No, you already see that Babip is saying, not today, that's theirs. We have no real play around this with Hanser already struggling into Tion. Unless, of course, you could just get a simple steal with the boomerang. Wait, Keel, here's Grand Circle. Smite's going to be there. Leaving Tion out to dry. Pobelter standing in the way, trying to see if he can fight against Sword on the other side. Weaver's Wall cuts off the retreat, gets the flash out of Babip. Nobody dies, but the Rift Herald secured by Keel. And
with the Grand Skyfall down, that's going to be a much less scary Pantheon that you would expect at level 6. He no longer has the ability to gank any lane. He has to walk up, and bot side, a little bit of action.
Kinetic Storm followed up, trying to see if they can get the damage onto Cody's. He's already got the Ignite. Here comes the Inferno Trigger to get a lot of damage onto him, but instead they have to back out, dodge away from the Death Sentence play to deny Hooks. He wants to be able to get a knockup because Tion's here. They got a lot of damage onto Cody's and onto Fizzy. They want to get that cold over, but wow, somehow turns it around. Cody's will take at least one with them.
Ooh, Tion, we thought he had all the time in the world up top, but then he just teleports bot, and Cody's and Fizzy find themselves in a bad situation. They do get one back for themselves, but they were on the aggression for most of that game, and now that momentum has completely shifted.
It has, but at the same time, keep in mind the fact that Cody's was still able to at least get a kill on the way out. That keeps him at least comparable in the spot lane, so they're not losing too much. Sure, you do have the fear in the top lane. Wait a minute. Oh, what? Okay.
Huh?
Bye, Keel.
Okay.
Going back to the point I was making in the bot lane. So, the fact that they were able to get that kill for Cody's makes it so that the Cephalius is still going to be able to put that same kind of pressure onto Katsuri and constantly be able to win out and push in Samira where she's not going to be able to really impact much.
And it's going to be a really, really tough ride for this Samira if she doesn't get an early kill because, again, yes, she didn't manage to get a kill there, but if she doesn't get a kill in the next couple of minutes, it's going to be very tough to get those item spikes around the time Dragon spawning up, which, as it turns out, is right now. And Cody's son is going to have his item completed pretty darn soon.
And you know, with Infernum, it makes it too easy to push the wave out and force Katsuri to be underneath the turret once again. So let's take a look at that replay top lane. Oh, which just Keel had no mana.
Oh, he got dove.
Yeah,
he got
no
dove
mana.
hard.
Easy peasy.
Yep. Up. It's just what happens when, you know, Hanser had the Narbar completely full. He decided to dive in, and that was that.
All right, well, Dragon low. Who's going to smite it, though? It's going to go over to the side of CLG Academy, TSM Academy, saying, all right, laters.
Okay, so CLG Academy, they do manage to get an advantage for topside. They managed to stop the Dragon stacking coming out of TSM Academy, and they popped the Rift Herald mid, so they might just be able to get this turret with 3 members.
This is a good call coming in from them. A lot of influx of gold into the right members of Pobelter and Tion. Those are going to be the members that you're going to have to rely on, since we've already talked about how Katsuri's staying pretty far behind in CS compared to Cody's-san. He's going to be able to keep pushing this wave out and keep Samira underneath the turret, so she's not going to be able to do too much. So this is where you want to be able to put gold elsewhere. Tion already got Eclipse. Pobelter already working towards being able to get what I assume is the Rocket Belt. We do see Lantern over the wall. Boop. Easy.
Okay. Fair enough. TSM Academy, they keep themselves safe, and for the moment, Cody's son has a pretty solid gold advantage. So you were talking about the pressure just very much in TSM Academy's favor. CLG try to answer back, but again, that's just really tough to do against Fizzy, who has played a pretty good Thresh thus far.
And I think that's at least the third or fourth time Keel's tried to make a play that just hasn't really been able to net anything. Not even that time a summoner, because Fizzy was in a great position to be able to throw a lantern out, drag back in Cody Sun, who doesn't have any summoners, and say that it doesn't even matter that Aphelios is kind of immobile. All he has to do is click the lantern.
And he clicked the lantern, he did, as we do get it back from Fizzy, but we see Cody Sun was able to stay in lane, so doesn't lose any gold for that play and that back. Instead, just gets a full restock on his wards, and Babip is in the area with Grand Skyfall, so hopefully this is a play down bot that TSM need.
But still, these junglers aren't really the ones that have been making the plays. That's what's been the most surprising thing in this game. You normally would expect, especially a Talia Pantheon game, where it's all about the jungle pressure, where they're making the ganks, where their pathing is going. It's been far more about the individual lanes themselves, utilizing Pobelter on this Destiny game. Hell, I mean, that first play he made wasn't even with that. It was a simple trade out for TP, go top lane, get killed. And this is something that I think is indicative of what we might expect coming into these mid-game team fights is where are these junglers going to be able to put their pressure or any kind of lead into, since they haven't been able to net anything themselves.
Well, Keel was able to go topside, but unfortunately not while Tien was there, so not the greatest of plays as we saw a couple minutes ago. He is still maintaining this top presence, which I do like. The Rift Herald will be spawning up in about, I think, 2.5 minutes or so, and they'll be able to put a lot more pressure on this mid and top side if Keel and Pobelter decide to roam to the same lane.
I feel bad for Babip. He's like, I want my blue buff, and shows up.
Not happening. There. That's just what happens. That's Keel just reaching his hand really deep in the cookie jar, and Babip coming up crumbs. As we do see a little bit of pressure coming out from the mid side. Sword's able to push this out as Pobelter gets the blue. And this has been really back and forth in the mid. Yes, Pobelter got that early kill, but since then hasn't really contributed to a lot of plays on his team.
It's the nature of the beast with these two mid laners. Orianna versus Twisted Fate, they wave clear. That's their purpose. They push out the waves, and yeah, gameplay.
It's back and forth. We've reached a small lull in the gameplay as Dragon is spawning in 1 minute 30 seconds. Rift Herald is spawning in about 10 seconds. And maybe, just maybe, CLG might want to make a play towards the bot side, but I imagine Keel's had his eye on this top side this entire time.
Well, now that you're getting some of these backs and recalls, you're getting more of these mythics completed, we probably will see a fight happening soon. You have Immortal Shield Bow picked up by Katsuri to be able to survive a little bit longer in the backline. Stridebreaker out of Haunter on this Gnar. Get a little bit more burst damage and be able to dive a little bit more consistently. Again, off cooldown, was able to cleanse immediately from Sword, just never really getting threatened beforehand while that entire cooldown was off.
And with that, it was just a little back and forth. CLG continued to play the top, but TSM Academy decided to play the bottom, maybe get a pick.
Katsuri, you're a bit far out from home. Might have to flash over the wall or get the dash coming in from hooks, as well as a blast cone to be able to survive. So flashed away from the shockwave. Barely survives, but the objective was in the eyes of TSM to be able to get that first turret gold. All the while, Keel will trade for the Rift Herald.
I see what you did there.
You know what? You're not the only one.
Why did they hire us?
Who isn't capable of pun, Sam.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I don't know why they hired us.
I don't know. But one day as we continue to solve this mystery. Yeah, most likely. I would hope so. Because, you know, what else is there? As we do see Cloud9 or CLG Academy, goodness me, pushing in.
Oh, Keel, nice lantern away from Sword. I feel like we keep seeing that coming in from Fizzy on this position, using the Weaver's Wall to be able to get away. Death sentence. And look at that damage. They get the heal and a kill, but he still dies regardless. Hooks in the middle of everybody. Wants to be able to dash away, but just couldn't get away from Haunter with 2 dead. Dragon, TSM know what they want.
TSM Academy always had the answer to Talia, and that's what I love about this draft. Babip hasn't been able to get any pressure, but at the same time, Fizzy's been able to cover for him. Sword's been able to cover for him. These players just know how to play against the Weaver's Wall that's been coming out, and with that, Dragon gets picked up, and TSM Academy find themselves in a very good position.
Man, Fizzy's really impressing me, though. I just am loving that. You talked about the counters to the Weaver's Wall, but just that positioning from Thresh to always be in a position not only to disengage, but then re-engage. Look at how that... I mean, we didn't get to see the pull back in from the Lantern, but it was always in a position to immediately try to capitalize back.
And the burst damage coming out of Cody-Sum was just more than enough to deal with CLG Academy. Hooks tries to go in to help, but Hanser's already there. 5 members strong means there's no getting out of that. You just lose 2 members and a dragon.
That's one now for TSM Academy. They even got the bot lane giving more gold over to Cody-san. So this Ophelia is going to be even scarier when it comes to these next fights, as long as he's able to spend some of that gold. TSM trying to utilize that gold, try to push back the vision, get control of the jungle away from Keel. Since he's already been struggling to find these fights, they're already set up in a position where this tier 1 really isn't able to do too much to be able to deter them from continuing the fight.
And TSM Academy, they have the pressure that they need at this point. Nice dodge away from Hanser, as CLG Academy just doesn't have a response to the pressure that TSM Academy has accrued over the course of this game.
Kind of like the mechanics of the mythic item there, just to get that little dash to be able to escape from that pullback that probably would have, maybe not been the kill onto Hanser since he is about to go Mega, but at least would have caused a fight that could have been a lot messier than TSM Academy would have won.
Definitely great mechanics coming out of this player. Hanser has been around the scene for so long, you have to feel like he is going to be a threat no matter who he plays. A sword might get caught out here.
Shockwave, though, pull back in. Starfall in the backline.
It's a bait.
Takes a lot of damage, but a huge magnetic storm. Not going to be able to help out. Hooks is going to be the first casualty. Belter wants to be able to escape Tian on the other side, getting a little bit of damage with this poke, but it's going to be the disengage with kill secured by TSM.
And I love the response. Once again, Fizzy just in position. CLG, they do pick up the turret and get some gold back for themselves, but it's all about the pick play coming out. CLG thought they had the answer, but unfortunately, TSM Academy just comes back. Sword's able to stay alive. Fizzy's able to keep him alive, and Babip uses the Grand Skyfall the way it was supposed to be used, coming on in and helping his team.
Like, I just don't know how Sword survives this. It's the shields, it's the re-engage. I was talking about that with Fizzy before, and he keeps impressing.
He's doing a very, very good game thus far on this Thresh, and also the fact that it seemed like CLG Academy backed off a Sword pretty much immediately upon seeing Fizzy. The damage just wasn't there. They could have decided to go for the kill, maybe sacrifice an additional couple of lives for it, but I think they made the wise decision once they saw how many members were willing to collapse onto Sword.
Wondering if Hanser was going to try to go for that 1v1 fight against Tian, but he did back out, not necessarily knowing the location of CLG Academy. Good call, because as you can see, the Rift Herald was popped to the bot lane. The forced fight there probably would have been death for Hanser, despite the fact that he was about to go Mega.
And with that, another turret goes down. CLG Academy, they have the gold lead right now. It may not have seemed that way from the momentum of kills, but you know, they can still play a darn good game, and this might be a pick.
Gold card, body block by Babip. Babip, though, trying to be able to throw the Comic Spear to be able to get a little bit of damage, but that turret taken so low, it just needed to be sneezed on to be able to take that. Barely hanging on.
Agony. You hate to see it. That's, what, less than 100 HP? You could feel the memes from here.
Yeah,
in the end, it didn't even matter.
Wait, that's a different song.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Man, you're
before my time.
Is it though?
No, it absolutely is not. I have no excuse for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, Sam, come on. Anyways, the turret taken in the bot lane, traded in the top lane by Sword. So really a net neutral in the gold swing that could have happened for CLG Academy had they been able to secure that tier 2 in the bot lane. With that, probably would have had a slightly larger lead, but without it, we're within 1,000 gold between the two teams. Relatively close here at 21 minutes.
It's looking pretty darn good. Honestly, this game could go either way as you're talking about, Magical. Just so even between these two teams. The Dragon spawning in. This is going to be sole point for TSM Academy if they manage to take it, but CLG Academy, they're trying to even up the score.
Trying to even it up. They do not want to give over soul points. Just having that soul point, I mentioned, 3 dragons, how much control over the map you now have, how much you can dictate what the other team has to do, where they have to be. It's a smart call by CLG Academy not to relent pressure or control around that bottom quadrant of the map, because they know taking Dragon Baron isn't going to be so easy for TSM Academy. Even if they immediately peel for it, there still could be a good collapse with the help of both Belter and Tian to be able to immediately get there and capitalize.
And you can see the top pressure coming in from TSM Academy. They're able to get at least half on that top side. Belter uses the ult just to come in, but Rel's coming in as well. Hooks might just be able to get the engage he wants. Keel manages to secure the Dragon in the meanwhile. And both teams just kind of back off. CLG Academy getting the better of that one.
I think that's why it was the better call. They wanted the dragon most importantly. That was pretty much what the whole play was. Make sure they're not losing anything on the other half of the map. If they lose the tier 2, getting the dragon wasn't worth it. They weren't able. They couldn't really justify that for themselves because now you're set up in a position where you have this super long lane that can easily have the minions that force you to always have to play towards your inhibitors as opposed to being able to play towards the pits.
And with that, you can see the vision advantage also starting to go to the side of CLG Academy. They're able to set up now in the time that they want. They haven't started the Baron yet, wisely, but they do have the control at the moment. And that's going to be what's important in the next probably 3 minutes, is getting the vision control and getting the people on the map to the top side. Tian can stay bot if he wants to, just a split push, but the majority of your forces need to be around that Baron. Otherwise, CLG Academy is going to have a real tough time pulling TSM off of it.
Double TP advantage now for CLG Academy. They can easily just have Tiana in the bot lane and utilize that TP to try to see if they want to make a play and force out the TP of Hanser. Then you send down Pobelter into the bot lane, rinse and repeat, but this time Hanser can't join. That's the expected play to come in here, as you already see the setup. Hanser nearby, Tiana is near there as well. It is always going to be this wrestling for control on who's going to be able to get the better push, and then also who's going to have control of the Baron pit.
And for the moment, it actually looks like TSM Academy have rotated towards that mid side. Might look to make a play onto Katsuri, but he is protected by hooks and Keel, so I don't imagine it's going to be easy. However, that turret is very, very low, and I imagine TSM Academy need to take that down if they want to go for Baron.
Seen Tian back out of this. Tricky there from Pobelter. Sure. Nice use of the Destiny Gate. Wasn't really comfortable saying, you know what, something's fishy. We don't see the opponent, and it was perfect timing because that Starfall was right behind him.
And that's, flashes ahead, but a flash behind. Fizzy almost makes the play. I like the aggression, but unfortunately doesn't work out. Pobelter, to talk about that previous play, definitely used the gate at the right time. It's not only for teleporting away, it's also for spotting out the enemy. And while Pantheon might be hard to spot out with that ult, it looks like he's going to be spotted here.
Wall. Unfortunately, Vip's on the other side. They're going to be able to get the knockup. And what's there again? Is that a lantern once more? Even in the backline, they go. Fizzy plays back, but he dies. He was able to save Vip, but he could not save himself.
I still think Fizzy is playing an amazing game. Yes, he gets caught out there, but that was mostly to cover for a mistake beforehand. CLG Academy, they are playing the aggression. They still have the advantage around the Baron. Unfortunately, they don't want to start it when they know Vip is available.
And I think that's the reason why. They gotta be careful of that. They don't want to really get themselves in a bad spot where they can easily get locked into a tight corridor, especially against something like Gnar, something like an Orianna. You have to play so safe when it comes to those pits that you can get locked down, shockwave, immediate Gnar into the wall.
I'm gonna be 100% real with you, Magical. I'm not sure that Pobelter's teleport there was entirely necessary.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I don't know if it was entirely necessary either. But you know what? He has Spellbook, so who cares?
He does. Exhaust is back up, and he is good to go. Destiny as well available if he needs to use it.
Right, and so who cares? Use a teleport. You already got it back up.
It just feels like CLG, I like that they're being aggressive. At this point, it might turn into over-aggression if they just get a little too thirsty for these kills. Otherwise, TSM Academy is going to be able to capitalize, especially if Fizzy is alive.
Back and even stunned up by the W, tried to get away. He's able to do just that. Disengaged, not having to blow a single summoner. Only taking a little bit of health as well. Oof. Again, wanted to be able to get some poke. Had that landed, probably would have been a bit better, but now they got to back out.
And the Iron Maiden once again runs for the hills, is able to get it out. It turns out very hard to kill.
Shockwave onto Keel in the backline. Fizzy wants to be able to help out because Keel's already dead. He's going to be able to trade his own life, but look at that Vip in the backline, getting a lot of damage on a hook. Takes him down for the double kill. TSM Academy utilizing that Shockwave to be able to pick up Keel, and now they turn for the Baron.
What are these back and forth trades, Magical? Because CLG Academy and TSM Academy are deciding, hey, I'm in charge. No, it's me. Actually, look at me now. I am the team taking Baron. As TSM Academy have started it, but they're against 3 and they only have 4.
Right. Down to 50%. A lot of damage on Tion. Trying to see if they can get the gold card onto the right member. They don't have a smite, though. They don't really want to be able to throw it. Gold. Oh, the wild card. I thought that was going to be able to steal it for a sec.
Close. very, very close, but Babip manages to hold out, get the Baron for himself. But let's take a look at this play once again. You could see Fizzy is the focus here, but manages to get an excellent hook onto Tien, and in the backside, Babip, as well as Sword, are able to burst down the support. Just too much to deal with. Yes, Hooks goes down, but he managed to hold off a lot of members for a long time. CLG Academy don't find themselves at a disadvantage due to that trade.
And they get themselves the third dragon of the game. Sure, you traded for a Baron. It was not necessarily the cleanest fight, but at least you're in a position that if you can hold the line, if you can keep it going, you're going to be able to at least force an objective later down. It's not going to be for another 4.5 minutes until you're going to be able to do that. What do you lose beforehand?
And right now, it's looking like you lose at least 2 turrets. As Katsuri gets dived on for a second, Weaver's Wall's coming out.
Well, didn't even need to throw out the lantern that time.
No. Both teams just kind of back off, and TSM Academy, they're still in the driver's seat. You can see Hanser in the top side being matched by Pobelter. Hopefully he's able to get that turret, because otherwise this Baron is going to be very tough to use. However, CLG Academy, they're collapsing.
Yeah, they got the siege going on right now for TSM. It's a lot of damage onto Bob Bip. He's going to be able to have a ball on top of him. Gold card going to be able to at least disengage for now. Yan, they're going to be able to get the poke. Look at the damage onto Katsuri. What happened to him? He's just dead.
Fizzy. Fizzy happened to him.
Yeah. Fizzy, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. Is Hanser mega over the wall, but it's all in the matter of being able to get the objective. They've opened up the inhibitor in mid lane, utilizing that Baron. This is what I was asking you, Sam. What does CLG lose? What do they sacrifice in order to hold out until that next dragon? Well, apparently it's their whole damn base.
What did it cost? Everything. CLG Academy now has to think, what can we do in order to win the next fight? What pick can we get in order to influence the game? And right now, it's looking very difficult to find Hanser just because of Babip's presence and because Fizzy is just everywhere on the map. He's always ready to save his teammates, and he has been the linchpin of this composition.
It's insane to see how he's been able to play at this Thresh. His scoreline really doesn't show how impactful he has been. He has been the one to save everyone, to be the hero that they all deserve, but also has been sacrificing himself in the matter of being able to win. His TP was used by Hanser in the bot lane to scare away Tian, so yet another lane can be threatened.
And with this bot push, I feel like they're going in for another inhibitor. However, the defense from CLG Academy is still very, very strong. You do have Hooks, who is able to engage. You still have Pobelter's long-range engage with the rapid-fire cannon now completed. And even though Katsuri hasn't had the greatest game on Samira, he's still going to do a lot of damage if he's able to get the distance closed.
Well, if he can survive, that is. He's got to be able to get into the backline and survive long enough to be able to get that damage, because that's been the biggest problem right now. As it isn't a threatened fight onto Bob Bip. He's going to be able to flash. They got the gold card onto him, but it's Katsuri now in the back line. Got to be careful. The Samira, you have to be able to survive. Huge shield to be able to get alive, but finally falls to Sword. Hook was not able to keep him alive for too long and lose his life to the double kill coming in from Sword. Flash away from kill to be able to survive, but without the bot lane, CLG Academy not in the best position. Hanser going to be able to get the shields coming in from the Lantern, and with the help of the minions, they're trying to see if they can threaten an end. They've got an open inhibitor in the bot lane. A lot of damage comes in from Tion on the Sword. Sure, they're going to be able to get so much into the base of CLG, they just got to be able to get out of there.
And I like this disengage, but Fizzy!
Ooh, Fizzy, how are you alive, man? Oh, and he sidestepped away from the shock blast. God damn, someone stop him.
I can't believe TSM Academy makes it out of that with 5 members alive. They were blinking red on those health bars. They had less than 100 on Fizzy, and yet this team is able to just backstep, get the reset, and we can see this fight once again. But Bip looks like he's caught out. By all rights, should be dead with the focus that he has. Hooks gets an amazing attract and repel, but it's the zoning coming out of TSM Academy that keeps them alive. Tian, Keel, Pobe, they can't get into this fight. They can't do anything about the teammates that are trapped. And Hooks, you can make all the plays you want. Without follow-up, Rel just doesn't do anything.
Exactly. It's unfortunate that even with Rel getting into the backline, trying to do so much with that magnetic storm, that if you don't have anyone who's able to follow up, or if, you know, the person who is able to follow up in Katsuri is dead before you're even able to do anything, it's not really going to help out much. And that's the problem I was saying with the Samira. She dies too quickly, and now Keel caught out completely. You might be golden, but you're more like bronze there.
Just unfortunate to see. Sometimes you try to ward your jungle, you find 4 members of the opposite team. TSM Academy, they're going to keep pushing down on this top side, and with this final inhibitor going down, I can't imagine CLG holds out for much longer without a miracle play.
Right, and that's pretty much what it's going to take. Is Hanser was able to go into the back line, look at the Starfall. Bip was able to zone away CLG. Their final inhibitor turret that was standing is now gone. The inhibitor as well. Double super minions going to start pouring into the base. They don't even need the Baron to be able to end this game. TSM Academy want to be able to go 2 and 4 with just the minions alone, being able to get one of the Nexus turrets, only one standing. It is not looking too good for CLG. They're trying their damnedest to be able to get a fight. The backline coming in from Hoshi, but look at how squishy he is. He's already dead. Same with Katsuri, the bot lane again, eviscerated. Tian trying to be able to get away, flashed away from the moonlight, but TSM Academy, they're the ones who control the base. They're the ones who took down the Nexus turret. Tian, he jumps back in on Cody-san and goes gold to be able to survive a little bit longer, but they already got it shut down for Hanser. Game, set, and match goes over the TSM Academy, even though they wanted to pad the KDAs.
Honestly, a very clean game coming out of TSM Academy. They got some leads early, they were able to make it work, and the mid-game team fights, specifically led by Fizzy, were just incredible to watch. Very well played by a team that's been struggling this season, able to get a very nice win out as we get past the halfway mark.
Right, and for this game too, CLG Academy had the gold lead throughout most of it. It wasn't until those final fights around some of the objectives that finally we see this massive swing of gold. Hell, if you saw the gold chart, I'm betting it would look, pretty even, just slowly, steadily getting towards CLG, and then this massive dip that just goes all the way over to the TSM Academy, where within the last 5 minutes, they were able to win the game.
Honestly, if they're able to play out the endgame this well, I feel like this TSM Academy squad is going to be quite a nightmare going into the back half of the season. I feel like they have the potential. They've shown that with a comfort draft, like we were talking about in the pregame, they're able to make things work. You could argue that, yes, they were against CLG Academy, who has also been struggling this season, but with a victory in mind, you have the player's mentality to think about. They have the ability to win, and now they're confident in the draft that they have, and they're confident in the teammates that they have.
Exactly. It's being confident within your team and how you're able to play together is really what is important. And one thing for TSM Academy is, if they can shore up some of the weaknesses in the early game, I think they're going to be a lot stronger, especially because Fizzy, I'm gonna keep going back to him because that was such an impressive game. That was even, like I said, even if the scoreline didn't look like it, what he was able to accomplish for the team to be able to help out. Yes, you did hear a Red Bull can fall over, but what he was able to accomplish throughout that entire game for the team to be able to keep them alive, so they weren't getting caught out in positions that rightfully they should have just died in.
They should have absolutely been in a lot worse conditions than they were, because honestly you saw a lot of great engages coming out of CLG Academy, but because Fizzy was just there every single time a Weaver's Wall came out, there was no way to engage, there was no way to use this Talia pick that you have so hoped for this entire season, that you always look for in 11.2. It just proved useless the entire game. Yes, you were able to get some early kills, but once you got into the mid game, once we had Fizzy just broken out of lane, it was over.
And honestly, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. You have a rough laning phase where this Aphelios and Thresh are able to constantly win, even if it looked like your Jace was doing well on the top side. Some people can make the jokes of NA Jace, where it doesn't matter how well he does, eventually it all falls apart. But it really was on the fact that you won one half of the map, but you didn't win the other half. And for the side of CLG Academy, it just happened to be that Samira Rel lane struggled to do anything into Aphelios Thresh. Even if they didn't die, they couldn't really farm or go up towards the minions at all because Aphelios and Thresh were constantly harassing them.
And it felt like the top pressure coming out of CLG Academy, you saw how well they were doing, how much Keel was going towards the top side, but unfortunately, Hanser, he knows how to deal with that pressure. He has the Worlds experience, he has the LCS experience, he has the Academy experience to deal with players focusing on him in his lane, and unfortunately, that was unable to translate to Tian. He was unable to become this Giga Jace that just takes over the game and can poke anyone from anywhere. So unfortunately for CLG, they had a good idea, it just didn't have the execution to follow through.
Exactly, and sometimes, execution's what's important. So right now, I wasn't sure if we were throwing to a break or if we have a fun thing brought to us by Samsung, if we're throwing to that right now, but I will make the call that we'll throw to break and we'll be right back with that fun stat stuff, so guys, stick around. Hello, hello, welcome back into Academy. Mad Magical joined in by Cage and the Rage, and we're here for something a little bit more fun. Not an interview this time. Instead, we have Fast Stats, brought to you by Samsung, and it's going to be pretty much what it is. It's the fastest stats throughout, Academy so far. It's not an average. No, this is not an average. It's the fastest accomplished throughout the season.
And let's take a look at those records. Topside, I don't think Haunter's ever going to be topped in this. I feel like
he's got a full minute off the second place.
That's crazy. That's just absolutely crazy. 9 minutes, 44 seconds, 100 CS. That's perfect. Like, that's probably a little beyond perfect, if I'm being honest. That's literally going into other lanes, taking their CS just to get it.
And then looking on the next one, Jungle fastest level 6. Surnfire actually getting first place off that one. But this one seems like it's more of a hotly contested one because you got a bit not too far behind that one. I'm sure you can argue that Armao is a little further down that list, but I'd say that, this is actually something that the junglers could actually fight over.
It's also really close to the world record, which I remember, I think it was Levi in Season 7 Worlds, did that amazing Nocturne ult at around 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So these players are really going all out for this. Speaking of players going all out, mid for the fastest mythic item, Yusui, a minute over triple in completing that mythic item.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you just don't expect to be topped, and honestly, it's more than likely because Yusui plays Yusui things and does Yusui things, where it just crazy plays and trying to be aggressive, and sometimes it works, sometimes you're able to snowball, you're able to get a good lead, but other times you're not, and you know what, if you're trying to get in the fastest 5, it works out.
What I'm most amazed at is how spread out these superlatives are, because you look at bot, you look at the fastest 10k gold, that's the only time Team Liquid Academy is on the top. Because you would assume, based on the fact that they have 5 wins and 0 losses, they would be dominating all of these boards, but they only show up 3 times.
You definitely would expect that, but that's the thing. It's a team game. If you all work together, it doesn't matter. It's all about how you're able to come together, but it does seem that for Team Liquid, Yon being at the top of that one. It's also not too surprising because if I recall, Yon is one, all he has to do is get a pentakill, and just in this split alone, he's already gotten a quadra-kill, a triple kill, and a couple double kills. So if he gets a pentakill, he'll have hit the cycle, I suppose.
He's just trying to break his own record at this point. And looking at supports, Mystiques for the 7 and 31 item transformation. That is unbelievably fast. Playing someone who's played a lot of support, that's crazy. That's absurd.
Seeing Mystiques come in over from European Masters when I was casting him last spring on Go Rogue, it's really cool to see this player come over for Evil Geniuses Academy and try to see how he's going to be able to perform. But the thing that's really interesting with talking about his fastest item transformation is the fact that out of supports, I think he has one of the lowest kill participations because he tries to stay in the lane for a lot longer than most other supports who try to rotate around the map, try to make plays elsewhere. Instead, he's able to stick around there, try to help out his, I think, I'm just trying to make sure I get this right. It's help out Shoryu. I just want to make sure I almost said Prismal, but Prismal's who he's playing against later. It's helping out that bot lane to be able to get into a position to be able to do a lot more.
And hopefully they'll be able to really support their team because, as we say, there's always a possibility someone could beat some of these records. I feel like in the fastest item transformation, it's possible to go faster than that.
Yes,
but it does require a different playstyle. You have to be aggressively looking for the cannon minions. You have to go out of your lane. You have to be rotating. You have to be hitting the perfect timings to always get that 90G.
Yes. And that's the thing. It's usually how we see, even though I talked about how Mystiques doesn't have that much of a kill participation, he still does have a pretty decent kill participation. He's leaving the lane enough to be able to go elsewhere and help out the lane. So that's why it's been a little bit slower. But that's it. That's our fast 5 that we got. Thank you, Samsung, for being able to help us bring that and show you guys some fun stats that normally people always talk about averages, but it's always fun to see, what is the fastest? What is like the benchmark to want to be able to beat in a single game?
And I think all these players are going to want to end up on Samsung Fast 5 because otherwise, what are they going to be remembered for?
Playing an academy and doing well and getting to LCS.
And Fizzy's performance last game. I'll remember that.
Exactly. You'll all remember that. But right now, we're going to toss it to another break. And when we come back, we'll be back here for what is surely going to be one of the most hyped games of the day. FlyQuest Academy against Team Liquid Academy. So don't go anywhere.